Hey y'all, Scott here. I'm in movies. You can tell by the fact you hate me now. Yep, I'm involved with the Jurassic Park films. If you look at this scene, zoom in, further, I was supposed to be there, but I was frankly too busy being where every movie star ends up. Hell.
Oh boy, I can't wait to use my new game console!
Look, I'm using it!
Pretty wild how many don't use their video game systems to play video games, but hey, I'm not one to judge. It's all about that multimedia functionality. Why did you buy an Xbox?
Why did you?
Hey, it's nice to have a single box for everything. What's the point of having a separate CD player, DVD player, game console, all that jazz, if the game console has the capabilities to be all of that and then some? And that right there is a key reason as to why the PlayStation 2 won at winning. DVD playback built in. At a time in which DVD players were pricey as hell, so why bother getting one standalone when the PS2 was cheaper and a game console? It was a complete no-brainer. This was the smartest purchase you could possibly make. Look at me, I'm being smart. If the PlayStation 2 taught me anything, it's that movies and games, they go hand in hand. Everybody loves movies, but you know what else they love?
Movies.
Movies for game systems. Video content specifically released to play on video game hardware because maybe I don't want to use my thumbs today. Hey, back in the day, this didn't make a lot of sense. We didn't have immediate access to every movie ever made, whenever and wherever we went. As a kid in the 2000s, the best case scenario for backseat entertainment was a portable DVD player, and even then, you could only have so many DVDs, man. It was like, when am I gonna watch this road trip? The road. And hey, all this took up a bunch of space and was expensive. So just imagine if I could just play movies on something like my Game Boy, ultra portable, and I wouldn't have to buy any extra hardware. That would be great.
Nah, that would be Game Boy Advance Video.
Game Boy Advance Video. Yeah, that seems right. Listen, you may scoff at the quality now, but back then, you scoffed at it in lowercase. It was still bad, but it kind of came with the territory. Like, when you first got a GBA, were you expecting to watch movies on it? Just the fact this existed was enough to satisfy me as a kid.
What did you have when you were a child? I had Game Boy Advance Video. No standards.
I mean, I'd take anything after this. Video now. The way to experience video content on the go in 2003. Did I say 2003? I meant hell. Yeah, I had one of these. Probably why Game Boy Advance Video was introduced in the first place. To compete with this. Didn't take much. If I hadn't seen any of these TV show episodes prior to this, I genuinely would have no idea what's on screen right now. Black and white, pixelated as all hell, tiny ass display, discs would oftentimes include just one 22-minute episode, and speaking of which, discs! You use your portable media player like it's some kind of portable media player, and the spinning disc here is gonna get jostled and skip or stutter or flat out just tell you to get a damn Game Boy. 1 year later, in 2004, Game Boy Advance video cartridges hit the scene in boxes that were quite a good bit different from your typical GBA packaging. Hell, the game packs themselves are a unique color too. Definitely, so then people knew damn well these weren't your average playable video games. These were this, bitch. At 20 bucks a pop, you normally get about an hour's worth of content, most of which were TV shows. We got series from Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, pretty much anything a kid watched in the mid-2000s. I personally owned a handful of the Nick shows here, SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, even a variety pack containing episodes from 3 different series. It gave me such a nice assortment of visuals to squint my eyes at. Yeah, hey, this was leagues better than video now. Getting shot in the head is better than lethal injection. Listen, I have a soft spot for something like VHS, you know? I've got this old school TV here, and sometimes when I'm feeling a little quirky, I'll pop in an old tape. It's nothing but a fun nostalgia trip to take every now and then. So believe me when I say I never want to use this ever again. And I like crap like this. But hey, we gotta keep in mind, in 2004, for most kids, if you wanted episodes of SpongeBob on the go, it was genuinely this or nothing. Or nothing. Hell, iPods couldn't play video until 2005. Your only other feasible option was a portable DVD player, but this was way cheaper and way more portable. I remember bringing these into restaurants and watching them throughout my meal
What the hell is wrong with you?
yesterday. And on road trips, these, alongside some actual Game Boy Advance games, definitely came in handy. An hour of content in full color and no disc spinning leading to skipping and stuttering meant look at me go. Yeah, the video and audio quality is crunchy as hell, but at the time, I mean, it could get a kid by in the year it was released. I knew it wasn't good, but it wasn't not good enough. So wasn't not good enough, I wanted to go through with a particular scheme. The Game Boy player for the GameCube plays all Game Boy games on the television. So, feed the GameCube through a VCR, pop in a blank VHS tape, insert a GBA video cartridge, record, and
Profit.
That was so embarrassing. Yes, to stop customers from making VHS copies of their GBA video cartridges, Game Boy player support is blocked. Damn, they meant business. I mean, nothing was stopping you from plugging a VCR into another VCR and making copies of any VHS or DVD you owned in far better quality. But hey, they could block the Game Boy player, so they did block the Game Boy player. If they didn't, it would look like this. Think about what we could have had.
This looks like shit.
At the end of the day, Game Boy Advance Video did its job and was the stepping stone in my portable video career towards a portable DVD player and then eventually an iPod Nano. But I wish I spent a bit more time with it. I mean, they had a wide selection of titles to pick from. More than just shows from the big three kids channels. Dragon Ball GT, Ninja Turtles, Pokemon. Hell, they actually had a couple of movies released. Shrek 2. Shrek and Shrek 2. And hey, why not? Throw in Shark Tale as well. Damn, look at that lineup. These combo packs are pretty impressive. I mean, most GBA video carts are less than an hour in length. The single movies are a full 90 minutes, but these contain 3 hours of content. Now, how do they fit that much video on one of these? Considering the standard cartridges already featured video that's compressed to hell and back. Easy. They make it look 10 times fucking worse. Yeah, compare Shrek on the single cartridge to Shrek on the combo. I will admit, it's impressive they were able to fit 2 full movies in here, but at what cost?
This cost!
Doesn't even matter, because by 2005, this was old news, as Sony released their PlayStation Portable with numerous key selling points. The biggest being, it's a PlayStation 2 to go. Or at least it seemed like it. And what did you do with your PS2? You played video games and you played movies. If this was truly gonna be a portable PlayStation 2, it had to do exactly this. Oh my god! Man, I mean, the PSP already used proprietary mini DVD-like discs for the games. You release movies on them too, and wow! It's a portable DVD player. It can fit in your pocket, yet it has such massive amounts of home console type energy. It was genuinely so cool back in the day. Like, this was the first time a bunch of this sort of stuff was readily offered on a handheld device that didn't require a constant power source or TV. The PSP just felt magical. Like, this was the handheld I always wanted my Game Boy to be. I wanted my home console, but on the go. And the PSP was that. Except when it wasn't. See, the PlayStation Portable was damn cool and did live up to its promises, but it also fell short in a few key areas that made it hard to stick with. Like, you only had one analog stick, making this home console to go kind of cruddy for some home console games. And the PSP's disc format just kind of overcomplicated everything. I mean, Jesus. But using discs allowed PSP titles to reach larger file sizes than we've ever seen before on a handheld. The UMDs could store up to nearly 2 gigabytes of data, which not only meant bigger games, but high quality video content as well. No longer did we have to deal with,
What the heck? Is that a shape?
now these look on par with what you'd get on standard DVDs, and compared to the lineup of just a handful of family-friendly shows and movies on GBA Video, now we have
Oh my god.
UMD Video for PSP. This wasn't a cute little side thing or whatever. No, Sony was aiming for this to be one of the next big formats. So much content released here. Some of the biggest movies, both old and new at the time, TV shows and music videos, and with all this support and the freedom to take your movies wherever you go, how could UMD Video for PSP not catch on? No, wait. UMD movies were roughly the same price as standard DVD movies, which you could play on any DVD player. You could easily rip and copy them to your computer, and they always had better visual and audio quality with more content included. These discs could hold a lot by the standards of handheld game consoles at the time, but still paled in comparison to DVDs. UMDs pretty much only ever just had the base film on them, nothing more. TV show releases were often cut down from the DVDs they were based on too. It isn't SpongeBob's complete first season, it's the first season, volume 1, with no bonus features. The price you paid for portability. Literally! UMD video was fine for what it was, but it was always gonna be a supplemental video format at best. I bet Sony banked on UMD becoming the standard for portable devices everywhere. I mean, the name stands for Universal Media Disc. But man, the iPod models that were releasing at the time were starting to play video. They began offering digital movies and TV shows on iTunes. Modern smartphones were about to blow up onto the scene. The future of portable movies was obviously going digital. But if you just had to go physical with it, like, yeah, I can't fit this in my pockets, but I can damn well try. All these options just made more sense. This wasn't practical. Even the most die-hard PSP fans, like, what, were you really going to buy your entire movie collection in UMDs? Maybe a few flicks here and there, but even then, the handheld had functionality baked in, allowing you to transfer video files to it from a PC. You could just rip your DVDs and copy them onto here. The PSP was simultaneously stuck in the past and way ahead of its time, which makes these releases that much more bizarre. Like, they went so damn hard with these. GBA Video kept things pretty lean, you know? It was directed entirely at children, so they did a few dozen releases and called it a day. There are over 1,700 UMD video titles. Name any franchise from the mid-2000s and prior. There's a damn good chance at least one of its entries made it to UMD. Makes it quirky as hell to explore this library. I mean, Daddy Day Camp, the last piece of the puzzle. My road trip playlist is complete. Rummaging through a collection of these brings me back to simpler times. What movies you'd see in the stores during this era. Now, some of these I owned on DVD, so it's pretty cool to see the same releases, but on a different format. However, while there's a huge variety of content on offer here, I'd say the most prevalent genre throughout the UMD library would be comedies aimed at 20-somethings. The PSP excelled in two areas: Tactics Ogre and Adam Sandler. The fact that the only appearance of some video game franchises on the PSP was in the form of their film adaptations, and how porn released on it, made for a varied library, that's for sure. But such a large library of titles made the low sales sting that much more. By early 2006, retailers and film distributors were starting to give up on the format. Seriously, many were betting on this being the next big thing. Eventually, Sony tried giving them away in bundles, offering TV out cables for the PSP so you could watch them on the big screen at home. But at the end of the day, UMD video just made no practical sense. They were more expensive, had less content than DVDs, only worked on the PSP, and even then you could just transfer video files to it for free. But I will admit, these physical releases really helped sell the PSP as this miniaturized entertainment center to go. Like, oh wow, I can do anything portably! Anything. Thankfully, if one failed media format for game consoles in the mid-2000s wasn't enough for you, what the hell is your problem? Remember HD DVD?
Yeah. Oh, no, wait, that was the shit I took this morning.
Back in 2006, we had a bit of a battle as to what would become the true high-definition successor to DVDs. Sony's Blu-ray format or Toshiba's HD DVD? This was lame as hell. Blu-ray was higher quality with larger capacity discs, but HD DVD was cheaper with better menus. But man, I don't care about format wars when it comes to movies. I just want to watch the fucking Ant Bully. This thing got messy. All the different film studios were committing to either Blu-ray, HDD, or both, and I feel it just made it harder for people to actually move on from DVDs. I mean, why bother? Different studios were releasing on different formats. The prices for everything were absurd. And in 2006, most people didn't have HD TVs yet, so the quality difference wouldn't have been all too noticeable. But hey, it was just something that needed to happen to move on from DVD. So it was all worth it in the end, right? Look at this. Man, I can DoorDash DVDs. Blu-ray may have won the battle, but I think DVDs won the war. So where did that leave HD DVD? In the dump. The PlayStation 3 was set to launch with a Blu-ray drive baked in. So to compete, Microsoft sided with HD DVD and offered this? The Xbox 360 HD DVD player for a cool 200 bones. I mean, this made some sense. An external drive like this was never gonna light the world on fire. You can't tell me this was gonna be a legitimate competitor towards the PS3's built-in Blu-ray support. You need that HD DVD player built into the Xbox 360 for it to be worth a damn. But that would have been a terrible idea. It's HD DVD. Having that built in is like swallowing leprosy compared to just holding its hand. So offering this as an option, I mean, hey, thanks. This unit does add some nice functionality to the console. Some more USB ports, it has a small amount of storage available you can save some game files to. A lot of solid additions to your Xbox 360. None of which involves playing HD DVDs. All right, let's be fair here. I own way too many of these things to claim I'm better than them. Not as cool as UMD movies, primarily because these are just obsolete Blu-ray wannabes. Slightly worse quality, and like, if I'm gonna ogle an outdated video format, it better damn well look and sound the part. But these still bring me back to this era of video releases. I did own Shrek the Third on DVD. Okay, come on, hurry up, feel bad for me. So the HD DVD version is kinda cool to see. But other than that, the library doesn't cover a lot of what I was watching back in 2007. Man, I was one lame-ass 10-year-old, huh? Most of the movies I was interested in were only released on Blu-ray. Disney, 20th Century Fox, and Sony Pictures were committed to the format. Universal and Paramount went in on HD DVD, and Warner Brothers catered to both until realizing this war is stupid. They can just end the whole damn thing by siding with Blu-ray. And almost instantly after they did that, a 2-year-long battle with many picking HD DVD as their format of choice, spending hundreds to thousands on players and new releases, all for it to come crumbling down within a span of a couple of days. And all these years later, the Xbox 360 HD DVD player is probably the largest impact HD DVD made on society. Probably. Microsoft discontinued this pretty quickly after the announcement, but I don't think they cared all too much at this point. Like, sure, it would have been nice if it worked out, but I understand. I too don't give a fuck. But while the Xbox 360 lost the HD format war, it was actually ahead of the curve in something that was gonna be a whole lot bigger. Streaming. Netflix for Xbox 360 because there's no HD DVD for Gnome alone. This was the first console Netflix was available on, and Microsoft made damn sure to make the most of it. For a while there, the Xbox 360 was the only console you could simply download the Netflix app on. It was a part of an exclusivity agreement between the two, ensuring you couldn't instantly stream the service via an app on any other game platform. But they never specified you couldn't stream it on a disc! Netflix for Wii and PlayStation 3. And PlayStation 2. What the hell happened here? Well, this disc only released in Brazil back in 2011. You see, due to their heavy import tax on video games and systems, most consumers were generally a couple console generations behind, as the new stuff was... Alright, crack out Mr. Balls. So this made more sense than you think. More sense doesn't mean a lot. The Wii and PS3 discs were only necessary for a few months, as by October of 2010, you could just simply download a Netflix app, which makes these Netflix discs worthless. No fucking way! I definitely dabbled in the Wii app back in the day, which was actually my introduction to Netflix as a whole. It was pretty limited, like there was no search functionality, which, my god. Here's a Google app for the Wii. You can't search for anything, but here's just a bunch of random bullshit on the site. But hey, the limitations almost made it easier to appreciate the fact this existed at all. Like, yeah, it ain't great, but it's Netflix on the Wii, who cares? This nearly made up for the fact the system couldn't play DVD movies, and these just rubbed it in. Warner Brothers attempted to sell these combo packs for the 360, PS3, and Wii, featuring a game and corresponding movie. Mortal Kombat vs. DC in the Mortal Kombat film, Lego Harry Potter in the first Harry Potter, Fear 3, and Orphan. Well, damn, why did they stop there? The combo packs on Wii obviously skewed a bit younger, so not everything made the cut. But that's not the biggest problem here. The Wii can't play DVDs. This is goofy. Could do bundles with anything at that point. They'd be just as useful to a Wii owner. Let's be fair though, in 2010, if you had a Wii, you most likely also had a DVD player. And if for some reason you didn't, you didn't. You had a DVD player, you liar. So I don't think these are the most out there releases. You play your Scooby-Doo, then you can sit there for 90 minutes thinking about what you just did. Still, would have been great if we could have done that on the Wii itself. I mean, Nintendo originally planned on releasing a small internal attachment for the console to play DVD movies. Small internal attachment? What? we're sticking something in here? Well, outside of the video streaming apps, if we're looking to watch some content on our Wiis, our best bet's gonna be games with this kind of stuff baked onto the disc. So, for example, Kirby's Dream Collection has 3 episodes of Kirby Right Back At You available to watch, and we can probably piece together a coherent story with all the movie clips featured in Twilight Seen It.
No, I wanted to ask you, if down to the Quill Ute Res, we're all going tomorrow.
That's Twilight for you.
This game's release on DS is far more impressive though. Like, damn. Twilight movie clips on the go! It doesn't get much better than this. I have a giant soft spot for full motion video and DS games, man. I mean, I remember getting Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, seeing these CGI cutscenes and just being blown away. This ain't Game Boy Advance video anymore, buddy. This is marginally better. They really like to flaunt the FMV capabilities of the DS, especially early on in its life. Hell, at E3 2005, they gave away DS cartridges with a Twilight Princess trailer on them. Here's my copy. Wait, that's a check for $12,000.
Same thing.
Yeah, why the hell would I pay for this? Especially when the ROM for it is available online for free. I can just emulate it and enjoy the trailer that way. Or watch it on YouTube in full quality, but that isn't quirky! But listen, if we're talking actual movies, we're gonna have to bump it up a generation to the Nintendo 3DS with a glasses-free 3D display during an era in which the entertainment industry was desperately trying to sell everybody on 3D movies and TVs. It obviously made sense to offer 3D films on the handheld.
It sure did.
I envisioned Nintendo pulling a PSP and putting out physical movie releases for the 3DS. I mean, come on. With this, there was an actual damn reason to do it. Can watch your movies in 3D without glasses portably. This had the potential to make the 3DS an essential video player. I mean, at E3 2010, Nintendo showcased full 3D movie trailers for 3 family flicks, setting the stage for the eventual 3DS release of The Owls of Ga'Hoole. No! 3D video content was a pretty big focus on the 3DS for a bit there, but it was almost always in the form of 3D game trailers or quick little bite-sized short films on the Nintendo video app. However, over in Japan, a handful of full 3D movies actually got released on the Nintendo eShop for like $30 a pop, and damn, look what you got for that price point. A play button. Listen, it is cool that the 3DS got some movie releases like this, but these films started appearing like 3 to 4 years after the handheld launched. At this point, who the hell was buying these? At that price, no less, with no bonus features. Hell, not even a scene selection, and watching them on a 240p screen. Sure, they're in 3D, but oh, look, this is too, so I guess it's worth it. I was bummed that we never got anything like this outside of Japan, though. Netflix and Hulu for 3DS didn't offer 3D movies, so, like, is it too much to ask for the glasses-free 3D device to play this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Tekken 3D Prime Edition. Mostly a 3DS version of Tekken 6, that's all fine and good, but it's severely lacking in the Being the Tekken Blood Vengeance 3D movie department, which is a void Tekken Blood Vengeance 3D fills perfectly. I don't know, man. I mean, sure, they didn't have to include this, but, like, look at this. Wow, they didn't have to include that either. I just always found video playback on the 3DS to be tolerable yet underwhelming at best. This tiny-ass low-res display, sure the 3D works, but we can't control the intensity of it here. It's either on or it's off. Just overall added to the disappointment of 3D movies on 3DS as a whole. As far as Tekken's concerned, if you're just dying to experience Tekken Blood Vengeance on a game console, the best option is right here. Tekken Hybrid on PlayStation 3. That's right, a movie on PlayStation 3. What's next? The letter D in dog? Yeah, even when playing any and all Blu-rays and DVDs was one of the main selling points of the PS3, some games still came with movies on the disc, like Top Gun Wingman Edition and Days of Thunder NASCAR Edition, because holy f***, they needed it. This Phineas and Ferb game includes a handful of episodes. So does Deadliest Warrior Ancient Combat. I never knew the best value in gaming had a face. It's a cool bonus meant to showcase just how much junk you can cram on a PlayStation 3 disc. Or to make up for shit games. But do these count? Blu-ray movies with PS3 games baked onto them. Well, to be fair, they're demos, but still, It gives me one more reason to pop in my Zookeeper Blu-ray, which it's unnecessary, but hey, I'll take it. This wasn't a new concept. Here we have Hulk on DVD, which has a demo for the Xbox game on it. Same thing for Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, which, hey, these were demos that correlated with the film. That's more than the PS3 Blu-rays can say. What the hell does God of War 3 have to do with District 9? The letter D? Well, listen, in the end, I can't complain. Was I expecting to get a taste of Ratchet & Clank All for One when I bought Zookeeper on Blu-ray? No, I was just expecting everything else, so this is the cherry on top. They were ruthless trying to get us to buy movies for our game consoles. But why do that when we could just buy movies for our game consoles? Who does this? Buying digital movies on the Xbox and PlayStation Store. Like, what are we doing here? This just feels like we're flushing money down the toilet. Literally! Sony discontinued these purchases in 2021 since nobody was buying movies on PlayStation Network. Of course, here's our good friend, the weird coming in to give his 2 cents.
I bought movies on PlayStation Network.
Terrific. Nobody bought movies on PlayStation Network. And even if they did, Sony doesn't give a damn. They started to delete certain purchased titles from user libraries because some licenses expired. That'll teach you for buying Mythbusters on PS4. You can still buy video content on the Xbox store, but if this is anything to go by, run. Even if this console is the center of your entertainment world and you just need to buy a quick flick to watch, why wouldn't you just go through Amazon Video or Apple TV or YouTube Movies? I just find those services to be far easier and more reliable to buy video content on, to then watch on any device I'd want. You can do that with Xbox, but only if the title is a part of the Movies Anywhere program, and not all of them are, and that is enough for me to write this off entirely. Like, you can just download all these other video apps on Xbox, which have the exact same movies available to purchase. Why even bother with this? Doesn't help, you can just flat out play Blu-rays here, but on Xbox, you have to download a Blu-ray player app. What? Thank God for physical media. I don't have to depend on internet downloads. Is nothing sacred? Just a weird barrier to entry, like the original Xbox, forcing you to purchase the DVD remote accessory to play DVDs. Because why the hell would you be able to use the controller? Why the hell were there TV shows exclusive to PlayStation Network as if it were a television channel? I don't know. This is genuinely a giant rabbit hole. It's a crater at this point. There's so many examples of video content and video game consoles going hand in hand, like how FMV games took over the industry for a few years there in the 90s. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Sega CD is literally just some episodes from the show with button prompts popping up. Damn, if this was called Dog Shit the Game, it would be so immersive. This is one of the saddest excuses for a video game. At least with other FMV titles, the video portion was created with gameplay in mind, as limited as it may have been, like with Dragon's Lair. The whole gimmick of that game was that it's a movie, you just hit the right buttons at the right time. But Dragon's Lair, released in 1983, seeing a game that looks like this in the arcades was incredible. Completely original Disney movie quality animation that was crafted exclusively to be a video game. Watching a f***ed-looking Power Rangers episode 10 years later where I have to push left sometimes. I'll take Dragon's Lair on Game Boy Color. The Street Fighter II animated movie was actually converted into one of these FMV games for the PS1 in Japan, so how about that? We have Street Fighter the movie, the game, and Street Fighter the movie, the game, the movie. The more I dwell on this topic, the farther removed from society I feel. Like, this just doesn't end. I mean, we have the Play-In for Game Boy Advance, where we can view our own MP4 files on the handheld. The Philips CDI could play video CDs, which were the precursor to DVDs. The Laser Active was a Laserdisc player with module add-ons for Sega Genesis and TurboGrafx titles, in addition to a library of its very own games. U-Star 2 for Xbox 360?
Madness. This is Sparta!
At this point, going any further would ensure my resignation from humanity. So f*** it! Let's seal the deal!
This is a DVD player with Nuon functionality.
I know what that is.
Thanks, weird f***. You know how these game consoles have a DVD player built in? Like, DVD playback ain't this thing's MO, but it's a nice extra feature. Well, this is a DVD player with a game console built in. Like, video games ain't this thing's MO, but it's a nice extra feature. In the early 2000s, if your DVD player had this logo on it, that meant it was compatible with Nuon enhanced DVDs. All 3 of them.
Nah, just kidding. There wasn't that few. There were 4.
So playing these in a Nuon player enables some exclusive bonus content. Or at least it should. Dr. Dolittle 2 wasn't loading the Nuon features. But Planet of the Apes was, and I mean, I guess Nuon does bring more interactivity. Like, this is more functionality than I'm used to with a normal DVD, but it ain't mind-blowing, and the features themselves as selling points aren't compelling at all. They're just trying to validate the Nuon without having to create any new content of substance or value. Viddies, a Nuon exclusive feature. It selects scenes from the movie with notes popping up. What, you don't have a Nuon? You gotta get a Nuon! I will say though, this DVD player is the most premium feeling DVD player I've ever used. I mean, it beeps and everything. Really showcases how these Nuon players were supposed to be the cream of the crop, and hey, I'd say they were. When it came to goddamn anything but the Nuon stuff, like, my god, who the hell cares? Oh, nice, that answers my question. Nobody. Yes, video games exclusive to Nuon DVD players. I know this is less movies for game consoles and more games for DVD players, but it's the Nuon. I'm not sure how organically I could bring any of this up elsewhere.
My uncle just died.
I've got a handful of Nuon games here, the first one being Ballistic. Yup. We've all played a game like this. It's a solid time, but solid enough to warrant putting the disc in. I mean, it's all the way over there. This type of game thrives as a downloadable or something. Just you can pop in, pop out. It's fun for 5 minutes. So I don't want to spend that time waiting for it to boot up. And my lord, the remote control has such absurd input delay. It's nearly unplayable, which is where the Nuon game controllers come in. Damn it! Well, if you don't want to blow hundreds on playing Nuon games, consider a new hobby. Or you can get this aftermarket adapter to use a Nintendo 64 controller, which I prefer. I mean, the N64 controller is definitely way better than this anyways, and I can't open this up. It's a piece of gaming history, which you can make that argument about anything. I can't open this up. It's a piece of gaming history. Tempest 3000, part of the Tempest series by Atari and sequel to the Atari Jaguar game. You know, we ended up getting a Tempest 4000 in 2018, so it's pretty wild that they still consider this Nuon exclusive to be a vital entry. You're not a true Tempest fan unless you own a Nuon.
Just ruined this guy's whole fucking day.
Well, in my opinion, you ain't missing out on much with Tempest 3000. It's fine, but I don't really get a lot from this that I don't already get from Tempest 2000 or 4000. And like Ballistic, it's just not a game I'm playing for more than 5 minutes, so hopefully we can shake things up with Space Invaders XL.
I can't do it.
My lord, most of these Nuon releases aren't bad, but they just aren't anything. So tell me, would you pick the DVD player with like 5 games available for it, or the game console with thousands of games that can play any DVD you throw at it? That's what I thought.
And with that, I just won the award for You Never Appeared in the Jurassic Park films and talked about Game Boy Advance video, UMD video, HD DVDs, Netflix for PS2, and the Nuon for 33 minutes straight. Oh, this isn't an award. It's a noise complaint. Hey y'all, Scott here. Oh, I'm sorry, I should be more specific. You don't want to get me confused with any of the other hey-yalling Scotts around here. Lots of people are named Scott. For example. Well, just in case we're both here at the same time and you need to know who to shoot, I've decided to say goodbye to my old name, and from here on out, I'm to be referred to by the one thing that's wholly unique to me.
Hey guys, wanna play Portal?
Nobody likes me.
With a medium as old and broad as video games, we were always bound to have this issue. My favorite video game is titled Football.
And my favorite fish swim!
Same name, different game, because life wasn't hard enough. Hey, loads of game franchises consist of nothing but consistent re-releases, or just different versions of the same concept. Like, for example, how many games out there are just titled Tetris, you know? But see, that I can understand. This, The opposite of that statement is you can't oversit. Star Fox for Atari 2600.
Colors, shapes, lines. That's Star Fox!
It's always been a funny little novelty out 10 years before Nintendo's Star Fox debuted. I'd wager to bet that 60% of the Atari game library is space shooting based, so they definitely just titled this by picking 2 words at random, with one of them being galactic as f***. Man, just call it Space Noun. But then Nintendo made a game that was, quite literally, a Star Fox. And they had to fight to name it that. Over in Europe, they had to settle for the titles Starwing and Lilac Wars for Star Fox 64. I thought that was due to this game giving them copyright troubles in certain territories. Or this game. Yeah, this is Star Fox for Commodore 64 from 1987. My God, there are fewer games called banana. This isn't like a normal word. How did 3 different groups of people settle on the same name, with that name being fucking Star Fox?
I'm so excited to debut my brand new game. What do you mean that title's already taken?
Turns out, these games have nothing to do with why Star Fox couldn't be called Star Fox in Europe. It was because of this German company, Star Vox. The name was just a little too similar for Nintendo to move ahead with that title. Didn't stop Star Fox for Commodore 64. Hell, that did the opposite and was titled something else in North America. That brings up a good point, how different regions can make for the worst next 40 seconds of my life. The Final Fantasy series was notorious for skipping and renaming entries when bringing them over from Japan, leading us to having 2 completely different Final Fantasy 2s and 3s. The Final Fantasy 2 we got in North America was actually Final Fantasy 4 in Japan, with 3 being 6. Well, that can already be confusing, but what if we want to take things a step further? What about the DS remake of Final Fantasy 3? The WonderSwan version of Final Fantasy 2? I mean, sure, many of these games at their core are the same, even if they sure don't look like it, but we'd be here all day if we counted all the re-releases and remakes out there. So let's try and stick to completely different games, like
Thank God!
Prey and Prey. These 2 games have nothing to do with each other, even if this is supposed to be a reboot of that. And that was meant to get a sequel for years, eventually getting canceled, with this getting announced later on. But this was never meant to be that. Prey from 2017 was not developed with the intention of being connected in the slightest to Prey from 2006. The publisher Bethesda just noticed this game has aliens, that game has aliens. What else are we gonna do? You know, that game has the color brown? Well, this game has the color brown. Bethesda forced the developers to title this game Prey, maybe because after canceling Prey 2 in 2014, they wanted to nab some brownie points from fans for announcing something, dear God, anything Prey related just 2 years later at E3 2016. And just bring a cat out on stage at that point. This decision alienated fans of the original game and newcomers to the franchise, which left
Another reason to be pissed off. Math.
What does this have to do with Prey? About as much as Prey has to do with Prey. Prey, an alien encounter for the Amiga CD32 from 1993. Now, sure, we have a subtitle here, but is that really gonna stop you from just calling it Prey? 3 products, 2 of which from the same franchise, all called Prey, all involving aliens, all in first person, with nothing to do with each other. And you know what? Okay, what are you doing the rest of the day?
Which brings us to products which, just like Prey, use the alphabet in their titles.
Disney's Aladdin on Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo is one of the most infamous examples of same name, different game. Hell, you can say the same about loads of games from this era. Nowadays, multi-platform games are barely different across the consoles they're on. Sure, some versions may look better or worse than the others, but at their core, these are all the same game. However, that wasn't always the case throughout gaming history, and Aladdin is the poster child for this, alright? One version on Genesis developed by Virgin Games, another on SNES developed by Capcom. That's a cute little factoid. I wonder what others think of it.
Welcome to Mistake Making 101. Step 1. Do this.
This is like one of a retro gaming enthusiast's favorite debates to have. Which version of Aladdin is better? That may sound like a compliment, but I mean, look at these debates, man. They're both good games. You can't really go wrong with either. But time and time again, the Genesis release is considered the best. Hell, even Shinji Mikami, the designer of the SNES version, prefers this one. Well, in my opinion, I find the Super Nintendo game to be rock solid. It has a pretty unique acrobatic flow to the level design, focusing less on combat and more on traversing the stage smoothly, which I feel represents the movie fairly well. In comparison, the Genesis game features actual weaponry. Oh boy! I mean, what would you pick here? Isn't the choice obvious? I honestly find the Genesis version to be way more annoying. There's no tactility to hitting enemies. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything to them half the time. Just some funky ass hit detection in addition to some level design quirks that are annoying or confusing or just flat out bland. Like on Super Nintendo, these stage layouts feel finely crafted. There's such an awesome rhythm to platforming here. However, Genesis definitely takes the cake when it comes to the aesthetics. I mean, look at this animation. It is so smooth, like it's ripped right from the movie. And hey, wouldn't you know? Actual Disney animators worked on this version. And I can't lie, the sword is cool to have. In Capcom's game, you almost feel completely powerless. So my stance is, SNES is the better game, though Genesis is more appealing.
Step 2.
But yeah, even though these two are incredibly comparable since they're both based on the same movie, they are entirely different releases. Much like Batman the video game, Batman Returns, Willow, Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Star Wars, Wayne's World, Terminator, Terminator 2, Home Alone, RoboCop, Transformers, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, Dracula, Superman, Rambo, Rocky, The Godfather, Waterworld, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Over the Hedge. My favorite game is Over the Hedge.
What the f does that mean?
I mean, I could go on and on with these licensed games because you know what they do most of the time? A version for consoles, a version for handhelds, a PC release, which who the hell knows what you were getting there? The power differences and audiences of each platform were so different that at the time, it wasn't unheard of to have a version for HD consoles, a version for the lower end consoles, a version for the Game Boy Advance, a version for the Nintendo DS, a version for the PSP, and a version for PC, and for most of them to be completely different games with the exact same titles. At some point though, I think many start to wise up and instead of naming the Nintendo DS version of a game like it's just the game when in reality,
I'm playing Black Ops and lying's a sin.
later on, oftentimes these releases would contain a subtitle commanding you to don't give your shits to me, which, hey, I think that's a far better way to go about it. As a kid, I wasn't privy to what a Game Boy Advance could run and what it couldn't. You tell me Tomb Raider Legend is on GBA and I'm like, wow, this game on my Game Boy? This was the moment I realized, if there's wonder in this world, it ain't in this room. Handheld multiplats are the easiest examples of two different games with the same name. Very rarely would you get a one-to-one experience between the two, or at the very least, something close enough to the point where you don't feel like a damn fool for buying into it. Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS, hell, even 3DS, all would receive games with the same title as something on the home consoles, and most of the time, aw, Smurfs 2? I love that shit on my Wii U. Can't wait to play it on the go. Yeah. On the go! I mean, with this, I guess they tried to convey the differences with a different box art, but like, who keeps the Smurfs 2 box art on tap in their mind? Oh, wait a second, this isn't my Smurfs 2. This must be something completely different. Smurfs 2! Now, I thought this wouldn't be happening over on the PlayStation Portable and PlayStation Vita, considering one of the key selling points of the PlayStation handhelds was how they were practically home consoles to go. This was a PlayStation 2 for your pocket, evident by Spider-Man 2 being a launch title for the thing. The PS2 version was incredible. I mean, swinging around in open world New York City, but now portably. Didn't get my fix on the Game Boy Advance, that's not Spider-Man 2. On the DS, not Spider-Man 2. On the N-Gage, not Spider-Man 2. So finally, we get not Spider-Man 2! To be fair, Spider-Man 2 on PSP is far closer to the home console game than any of the other handhelds. Still isn't Spider-Man 2. If anything, it's like Spider-Man 1 on PS2. No open world, no web swinging through the city with genuine physics, just generic-ass Spider-Man-like action, man. It's serviceable. But it's wild to me how many different versions of Spider-Man 2 existed on game consoles. And sometimes the same one. Spider-Man 2 on PSP and Spider-Man 2 on PSP. Hey, at least the cover art is different. I'm about to say my catchphrase. If you're an open season fan, you're f***ed. Yeah, so these are UMD movie releases for the PSP, many of which were films that got tie-in video games also on the PSP. I mean, this is a bit of a cheeky example. Like, yeah, there's 2 releases titled Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire on PSP, but one of them's the game and one of them's the actual movie. So it's like, okay, haha, Scott, what a fun fact. Can you please take a step back? But hey, this brings us to a whole new subset of this junk, all right? The same name, different game on the same console. This has been something that's fascinated me for years, like Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 4 and Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 4. God damn, having these two on the shelf next to each other is so much fun. Of course, the original game's logo just had to be for Resident Evil, and the official title on the menu is all lowercase, and then they added a parenthesis 2005 once this remake was a thing. And with this being a remake and this being just an HD remaster of the original, this isn't like the wildest thing out there. It ain't worth slamming on your brakes in the middle of a busy intersection because you just realized there's 2 Resident Evil 4s on PS4. Or at least that's what the government thinks. Well, how about Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2005 and Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2012, both on the Xbox 360? I mean, that's a testament to how long that generation was. The fact this game came out at the 360's launch and that console still wasn't dead when they thought, enough time has passed, let's reboot Need for Speed Most Wanted. But don't get it twisted, these are 2 completely different games. They have next to nothing to do with each other besides cars and racing and Need for Speed and the Xbox 360. Outside of those, these are 2 different beasts. Most Wanted 2005 was primarily a game for the 6th generation of consoles, the original Xbox, PS2, GameCube. But since the Xbox 360 did debut that year, and racing games are generally solid showcases for fancy new graphics, I mean, there were 3 available at the 360's launch alone, this just made sense. And 7 years later, they thought, let's make sense again! I'd say this is less a reboot and more, they just wanted to use this title again. The developers said they just really love the idea of being the most wanted. So just call it Best Yearned. How about this one here? Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade by Taito and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade by Ubisoft. Both on the NES, both completely different. Even the covers are nearly identical. Like, how does this happen? Well, the Taito version was released in 1991, and by and large, was just an NES movie game. Dime a dozen kind of stuff here. The version by Ubisoft was actually an adaptation of this PC game here, titled Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the action game, which helped differentiate it from another PC game, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the graphic adventure. But then they wanted to bring the action game to consoles, including the NES, but just titled it Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Well, then how do we differentiate between these 2? Well, this one's bad, and this one's worse. Well, those right there were the best examples I could come up with for same name, different game, on the same console. Of course, we could keep going as long as we want, but is it really that interesting that there are 2 games called Destroy All Humans on PS4, with one being the original and the other being a remake? Like, that's not the same as 2 Crosswords DS games. So let's veer things back to more traditional examples, such as Mega Man X and Mega Man 10.
Oh my god!
Yeah, this one's just sort of funny. I mean, loads of the original Mega Man games, while their box art used regular numbers, their title screens used Roman numerals. How all the Game Boy releases used Roman numerals across the board, and these are also different from the console games of the same name. But around the time Mega Man 6 released on the NES, Mega Man X released on the Super Nintendo. A brand new Mega Man sub-series. And you look at this, and you look at this, and yeah, I think it would have been fair to assume this was titled Mega Man 10. But then we got Mega Man 10 in 2010, so we have 2 games titled Mega Man 10. Or Mega Man X, your pick. But hey, that's par for the course with this franchise. It seems like every entry has this problem. There are 4 different Mega Man 3s. This is one of them. Well, f it if this counts. Oh my god, 5 versions and none are alike. The Punch-Out series is one of the worst offenders, though. Every damn game in this franchise is just titled Punch-Out or Super Punch-Out. or arm wrestling. Oh, I was hoping they were gonna call it Mega Man 3. Oh my god, 6 games? To be fair, Punch-Out's kind of in this weird territory where these games are different, but they're all practically remakes of each other. So it's hard to fault them, but at the same time, god damn, just add another exclamation mark or something. I don't know. It's so hard to explain to somebody your favorite game when there's a million others called the same thing. I'm so tired of saying I love Africa with a K just to get the response, which one? Well, damn it, let's go simple here. There's no confusing this. My favorite game is Pong. With such taste like this, you may be asking, oh, what's your second favorite game? Pong! Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. What the hell is this? You really named your game Pong in 1992 and released it on an Atari computer system? The company who owns Pong? Pong is a side-scroller where you are ball. Thank God they named it this. What, do you have a better title? 7. We got Crackdown and Crack, Inhale, Down, Journey, Destiny, Wipeout for God's sake, Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden. Like, my god, how hard is it to give your game a unique title? I mean, I know numbering entries isn't very creative, but you really gotta try to get confused with these. Let's take Madden, for example. That naming scheme is boring, sure, but it makes sense. And hey, sometimes they have a bit of fun. 2013 was the franchise's 25th anniversary, so instead of Madden 14, they titled it Madden 25. That's cute and all, but I always wondered over a decade down the line what they'd call the Madden game in 2024. There's no escaping this hell. You can't refer to any game anymore without even a hint of confusion. Oh, Mortal Kombat 1? What the hell does that mean? We really need to reevaluate what we're doing here, and honestly, the video game industry should take a good long look at me and see just how easier this is. You know what, fuck it, just call me Star Fox. All right, so here's our trick-or-treat route. We start here and go to Target and buy candy.
And I did find a loophole where I can give you candy for free if you hold me at gunpoint.
Well, it's not really free if we have to buy the gun.
Yeah, plus the embarrassment of armed robbery.
Guys, just admit it. We're too old to be trick-or-treating. I'm not 41 anymore.
Yeah, plus all these health initiatives are really taking the fun out of trick-or-treating. Like, they're including apples with my razor blades now.
Oh, come on, guys. Where's your holiday spirit?
Arbor Day.
So what, we're too old for Halloween now?
Scott, I don't need Snickers. I need to get my prostate checked.
Listen, I think we all have different ideas how Halloween should be spent. Why don't we just figure out a compromise?
I have a better idea. Kill me, because that'll be quicker than what a lifetime of sugar will do.
Am I spending Halloween wrong? Do I not know how to properly act on August 92nd? Well, how could I be? I'm celebrating what makes the holiday at its core. Candy. And if they don't believe that, who cares? It's their loss. They'll just have to experience Halloween without Twizzlers, Nicorette, Blue Chew. They'd have to anyways because I ate them all. But candy appreciation can go far further than farther, evident by all the merchandise. Golly, you know what I love more than the thought of chewing a Twix? Being chewed as one. And video games allow us to see what life is like in some of our favorite candy's shoes. It's the scariest time of year. Halloween is here, and better yet, an excuse. I just want to eat chocolate bars and say the word Dracula. Can't go wrong with a standard Hershey's bar. This was my favorite back in the day. There I am. Memories. I can still get behind them nowadays, but only via leaked footage. This is baseline chocolate. There ain't nothing special about this unless there's peanuts jammed in it. But I was a picky eater back then. See? I found peanuts and almonds to be invasive, ruining the purity of my chocolate, the scariest thing on Halloween. Oh, well, they make things more interesting. Yeah, so does having wet mice in your bed. Regular M&Ms versus peanut M&Ms? More like regular M&Ms versus go f*** yourself. Oh, God, yeah, I'm already pissed off. But you know what? Maybe I need to get more comfortable around these things in order to accept a peanut up their ass. Well, what better way to do that than try out the huge lineup of M&M's video games? My lord, this is insane! There's so many more than some of the biggest gaming franchises. What does M&M's and Xenoblade Chronicles have in common? Nothing, because M&M's has 2 more games. I think the mascots have something to do with that. Most candies out there don't have them. M&M's, on the other hand, not only do we have mascots, they all have their own shtick. like the smartass and the sexy one. So crafting a game out of these is surely easier than sugar daddies.
I was just informed it isn't.
So what are you supposed to be?
Oh, I'm a liar.
Me too. Vampires.
I'm going as if the Wolfman was going as me.
I'm trying to go in as an adult, but I need more time.
Well, if we're all gonna be adults this Halloween, we gotta lay down a couple of ground rules. Rule number 1, no rules. Rule number 2, no candy.
But what if I'm giving up not Swedish fish for Lent?
Improvise!
Now that's maturity. If you keep this up, we'll be miserable in no time.
Oh man, this is so awesome! I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Get the out.
The first M&M's game released was The Lost Formulas on PC in the year 2000, though it got a version on PlayStation a year later titled M&M's Shell Shocked. Yep, PTSD. The M&M's minis have turned the candy factory into a madhouse, and it's up to the M&M's with feet to save the day. Now, let me ask you a question. What's your biggest problem with Crash Bandicoot? A, can't eat him. B, melts in my hand, not in my mouth. C, he's not an M&M. Whatever your answer is, we're safe here. Yeah, this is a direct clone of the Crash games on PS1 in every way. From the breakable crates to your spin attack move, it's pretty blatant. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. That is. Hey, I gotta give them credit. If you're making an M&M's game and do anything more than the bare minimum, I mean, that's a great pickup line. But what we have here is a sloppy-ass Crash knockoff and nothing more. I've seen worse, but not by much. Well, maybe M&M's Minis Madness will be slightly better than worse. This feels like a handheld adaptation / variant of Shell Shocked. They're even reusing art from it. So resourceful, can't wait for the next game. It's more original than Shell Shocked, but that doesn't mean it's good. I would have taken an exact copy of Mario Golf with the yellow M&M in the corner, but no, we get a cheap-ass, poorly designed 2D platformer you wouldn't play for any other reason than going through candy games on Halloween. M&M's games can be like the least offensive thing you could buy a kid. Can be. It's like, you don't know what the kid likes, get them a candy-themed video game. I don't know, they must like candy, right? And something like this will suffice. The kid will play it, but when I play this game, I just get this lingering feeling.
Mom and I aren't very close.
These games are just whatever. I mean, they aren't good, but like, they're games based on chocolate. If a color popped up on screen, I consider that to be a miracle. But see, these were laying the foundation for M&M's games to follow. Over on the Game Boy Advance, we got 2 more titles, M&M's Blast and M&M's Break'em. Now, what does the next generation of handheld gaming mean for my 2 M's? A Mario Party clone and a reskin of some puzzle game from 2003.
I might convert.
A puzzle game is probably the most sound genre for the M&M's. Like, look at this. Nope, now there's 2. You did math. And Break'em is a completely competent M&M's puzzle game. But that's only because it's not an M&M's puzzle game. Now, outside of the plot, we have to stop Mr. Runch because according to the M&M's wiki, he has evil alignment, and what's even scarier is the impending announcement of his appearance. M&M's Blast is a cobbled together Mario Party ripoff, but damn it, it does the job of a licensed candy game for kids perfectly. This has such heavy shut the f up kid energy to it. Just something for them to do in the back seat of an hour-long car ride. Basically, it's a 10 out of 10 at being a 4. But you know what? M&M's on Game Boy Advance is like the M&M's in my pocket.
Oh, God.
A very playable slop. I just don't get it. Why do all the M&M's games feel like they just cram the characters in at the last second? You can do so much with the concept of I'm the blue M&M. That's every kid's fantasy.
My nickname is Every Kid.
It's just all so generic, but hey, over on the Wii and DS, we have the largest output of M&M's games to date, which surely must mean oh my God. M&M's Adventure, M&M's Beach Party, and M&M's Kart Racing. And now, I've talked about all these games before while diving into shovelware, so I've had time to prepare my statement.
What the f***?
Let's start with M&M's Adventure, because I have the nicest things to say about it. It's bad. But you know what? It's a surprisingly capable 3D platformer for being such a giant piece of shit. Even though it says adventure, I've come to expect just piss-poor minigame collections from these types of Wii games. So the fact that it's an actual video game, I mean, is this reality?
Yup.
M&M's Beach Party. This finally answers the question of, what happens when you get sand on my M&Ms? This game. And finally, there's M&M's Kart Racing. This was not the ideal era for those who just wanted to do everyday things as the blue M&M. Go-karts, skee-ball. Was there a reason why M&M's games turned out the way they did? You could have made this Vlasic Beach Party and replace all the M&Ms with the stork and nothing would change. And this was it for M&M's games for years until 2021, where we got a remake of M&M's Adventures for mobile devices. I can't wait to see how they change the game.
Oh wow, they changed the music.
Whoa, are those M's?
Yeah, and also M's.
Gosh, I've always wondered, what are they doing? I'm not chewing them. You got any Skittles?
Throughout my entire life, I've always been a chocolate user. That's my go-to style of candy. The sour stuff, you're a masochist. Gummies, you're taking part in a science experiment. Now, fruity junk, though, I was always a bit more open to that. I mean, how could you resist the fruit Tootsie Rolls? Okay, well, there's one way. But Starburst, Airheads, Laffy Taffy, all great stuff, though it always came back to the Skittles. I always enjoyed a Skittle or two, but what I really loved was Skittles gum. That's right, I loved Skittles so much I never wanted to swallow. So I think a video game based on the candy would be perfect for somebody like myself. I just want to skittle around for as long as possible, engross myself in the world of misspelled M&Ms. Give me Skittles the video game. Oh!
I'm sorry, I just get a little freaked out at anything that isn't Skittles the video game. Ah!
What even is this? Darkened Sky? Just a generic fantasy adventure game?
Okay, let's look further into this.
Well, how are we gonna decorate these pumpkins?
Nah, that's too whimsical. We can write our last will and testaments on them.
I'd rather wait to deal with that when I'm ready and dead.
Why wait?
Dear Will, I leave to you my childhood collection of...
Your childhood? Only children have childhoods!
Boo!
I can explain. It was just a phase.
Well, I'm going through a phase too! It's called getting you the hell out of here!
Okay, so this was developed alongside M&M's The Lost Formulas, but was something far different, and more so influenced by the Skittles ad campaign at the time rather than based on it. You had some very fantasy-based Taste the Rainbow commercials, so here's a completely original fantasy game with absolutely no mention of Skittles on the box outside of the copyright notice. But then, you jump into the game, and how do you use magic? Why, with Skittles, of course! Is this supposed to make me hungry for Skittles or use them for more than just food?
Yep.
This is genuinely one of the strangest video games to ever exist, especially when looking at the development. When the company behind Skittles reviewed the project for approval, this action-adventure game that had next to nothing to do with Skittles, basically the only feedback they gave was no snakes. You can have things that look like snakes, but no snakes.
Do they even get their fan base?
I think the Skittles license is so weird here because it's just there, and they do nothing with it. Skittles are magic orbs in this universe. That's it, which is even stranger considering the script to this game is very referential, meta, tongue-in-cheek, and the fact they go through the whole thing just accepting that they get their power from damn Skittles, I just don't understand. Especially when there's no snakes in the game. Darkened Sky by itself is a very average action-adventure game from the early 2000s. It's not bad, but nothing to write home about, which means the Skittles save it. Without that, there'd be no reason to even discuss this game anymore, especially without any snakes. I'd like to see an Almond Joy do that.
What's the matter, Rex?
I'm a bitch.
Oh, well, we welcome all here. Bitches, scumbags, motherfuckers.
And you check off 2 of those.
Come on, sit down. Skittles!
Well, there's a reason it's called Skittles and Bitches.
What's it?
Skittles were pretty rad, man. I mean, I always felt like a bag of these almost substituted a meal when I was a kid. Yes, the 3 bags of Skittles a day diet. I don't know if this is cherry or blood, but I did really enjoy this stuff, which surprised me because chocolate was always my go-to. Maybe what if all those candies I shunned before were actually fucking amazing! Sour Patch Kids stunned me with how amazing they were when I first tried them. You got that immediate sour followed by the delectable sweetness. It just made for such an addictive taste. You must be saying, wow, Scott, if you were such a big fan of Sour Patch Kids, surely you played World Gone Sour for Xbox Live Arcade.
Who?
Yes, published by Capcom, it's the Sour Patch Kids video game narrated by Creed Bratton. And no, we're not playing Two Truths and a Lie. Actually, not a horrible platformer. Pretty decent production values for being a downloadable title from 2011 as well. I'd honestly say this is the best candy-based video game ever created. But how could I say that before trying Smarty's Meltdown?
I can see the future!
This is a European-only release, evident by the fact the Smarties in this game are actually edible. Yeah, you ever see the difference between Smarties in Ohio and Smarties in countries they know what Smarties should be like in? What would you rather have? A bigger, softer M&M? Or fucking chalk? Well, Smarty's Meltdown has us take control of not fucking chalk in a 3D platformer that I'd say is a lesser version of M&M's Adventure. This feels so pathetic, man. I mean, even the character we control, it's a faceless circle. You wanna know why they didn't give him a face? Because he'd just be an M&M at that point. It just feels like an attempt to do what M&M's was doing, which they weren't even attempting to do anything in the first place. I mean, my God, how are there so many candy-based games but barely any at the same time? Do I count the Gummy Bears games on Wii? What about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory based on the movie? Or how about Candyland? Jelly Belly Ballistic Beans? The Tootsie Roll Family Learning Fun Pack? The Wonkazoids, candy that came with an LCD video game? The Sweet Tarts 3D game on PC? Pez Play on iOS? The Butterfinger Xbox controller? Gumball? I just don't get it. I feel like there should be more, but there should be less at the same time. And there's potential with some of these. Hell, the Sour Patch Kids game ain't half bad. But most of these are just complete wastes of the license and time. Maybe I am spending Halloween wrong. Maybe I do need to grow up. Or maybe it doesn't matter. Because honestly, regardless of if I'm doing childlike or adult things on Halloween, everything just feels right when you're doing it around your people. Even this.
So instead of bobbing for apples, as adults, we'll bob for credit card debt.
Nothing more childlike than some soggy fruit.
Soggy fruit! You're no adult! I can't believe I thought I could have authentic adult-only experience with you this Halloween. Enjoy your credit card debt, minor.
Hey, Target employee, how's adulthood?
Oil changes,
Prostates,
income fraud,
mowing the lawn,
slowing down in a school zone,
remembering the good old days.
f***ing the neighbor's wife,
That's adultery.
knowing what adultery is.
Wait, that's adulthood? I just want to spend Halloween correctly.
Well, it turns out you were. There's no right way to spend Halloween correctly. But if there was, I think we're doing it right now. Hey y'all, Scott here, and there's no right or wrong way to spend Halloween, as long as you're with your friends. And most of them survive. Hey y'all, Scott here, and you might have noticed this 2-liter Mountain Dew and sack of Doritos I'm about to fling into my gullet. Don't worry, I feel a good reason for doing this coming on to me. That'll work. Not only do I want to become a true enjoyer of all things video game, but I also want an excuse to go to this hospital near me. They're really cool. They got a vending machine and everything.
Oh my God, this room is crazy. F my arteries.
You ever play Pac-Man World 2 and you're like, I could use a choking hazard right about now. Food has been associated with gaming here and there. You see, with every new Call of Duty or Halo release comes a corresponding can of Mountain Dew. Every new console release comes with oodles of sweepstakes plastered on boxes of Special K. And of course, many people like to just glutton out and stuff their face while playing a game. So let's take a look at some food associated with games. Basically, I went to the supermarket and loaded my cart up with anything video game related. Let's move over to this room. Yeah, you see, this is what us kitchen owners refer to as kitchen. Blam, let's get this one out of the way. Super Mario cereal took the world by storm. It's been a pretty boring few months.
Released to promote Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario cereal is a Kellogg's production and includes power-up mushrooms. Well, you know I had to buy it. The box doubles as an amiibo you can scan into Mario Odyssey for some small bonuses, nothing special, but still a really cool touch. Also on the back, we have some activities for you to tackle during unemployment. Enough gawking, let's crack this thing open and get to the goods. Super Mario cereal's flavor is mixed berry and marshmallows. The mixed berry is contained in these stars, and the marshmallows take the form of these question mark blocks and mushrooms, or as I like to call them, and what? After going knee-deep into this cereal, I think it's alright. I don't think mixed berry is the best flavor to combine with marshmallows, but what do I know? I don't cereal for a living. If you're a kid who's begged their mom to grab Super Mario cereal at the supermarket, you're no doubt familiar with getting grape nuts instead. Around the same time Super Mario cereal released, Post cereals featured a Nintendo Switch and Mario Odyssey sweepstakes on the front of various boxes, like Honey Bunches of Oats and, of course, grape nuts. You gotta hand it to the sweepstakes, it got me to try an edible form of torture. This isn't the first time Nintendo's been plastered on cereal boxes. Back in the late 80s, the Nintendo Cereal System was a thing. It was of course promoting the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Mario Bros., and The Legend of Zelda. 2 cereals in one! 2 slender bags of a Mario and a Zelda cereal were inside. Good for them. Now if you need to be up and about harder than ever, you might want to contact a physician / pick up some gaming related energy drinks. There's loads of these things out there. Here I just have Mega Man and Sonic branded ones. The Mega Man energy drink is called the E-Tang, which is cute, and the Sonic one is just called Speed. What is going on with Sonic's legs here? Like, yeah, Sonic usually runs so fast his legs are nothing more than a figure 8 or something, but there's that, and then there's having no legs with just scribbles below you. Giving the drinks a taste, I mean, they're energy drinks, that's for sure. And I'm pretty sure both of these are the exact same drinks. If you're into these sort of things, they're probably okay. Now, if you remove the drink from the colorful can, pop it in a standard glass, and say to me you just drank Mega Man's E-Tank, that's another story. Oh God, this is inside me. It's weird, when I drank this, I thought to myself, wow, this tastes blue. It's probably the fact these were Mega Man and Sonic drinks, but after further inspection, that is not blue. Here's some of these retro candy tins, products that will make any 30-something squee in a Target. These things have been around for a while and are just small candies inside a tin that's designed like something from yesteryear. I found a bunch of Mario and Nintendo related ones with one Pac-Man arcade cabinet thrown in there. There's one that I always wanted but never found, which was an Atari 2600 joystick tin containing gum. The joystick was rubber and everything. But whatever, we have an NES controller instead. No clue why this specifically has the Nintendo Power logo on it, but who cares? I do, these mints are pathetic. These aren't the virgin mints I was promised, these are just lame circles. What's so Nintendo Power about these? It doesn't even taste like Nintendo Power, these mints are weak. Same goes for the Mario mints as well. This is probably the lamest of all the tin designs I picked up. It's literally just a rectangle with a Mario sprite on it. The mints are blocks, which could be interpreted as the blocks in Mario games. And I don't know, I think they just found a generic design and said, that'll work. This Link tin is at least shaped like the sprite, which is cool. Inside we have Orange Sword Sours. Yeah, I have a feeling this was just a repackaging of some Christian candy. The Pac-Man arcade cabinet aesthetically reigns supreme over most of these. The top is on the bottom. Nice. It's these little Pac-Man shaped candies that to this day I still can't figure out what flavor they're supposed to be. In fact, most of these candies don't have a lot of flavor at all, to be honest. Superstar candies in a star, cherry sours in a mushroom, coin candies in a question mark block. There are tons of these candy tins, and they all feature kinda chalky, tiny candies that have very, very subtle flavors to them and aren't really that tasty. You get these things for the tin, plain and simple. If you say your favorite food is coin candies, well, the door is that way. If you're not into the tins, we can always shift gears to other types of candies. Pez dispensers are wacky plastic heads that feed you on command. But we still have to load the candies into Donkey Kong here, keep WikiHow on standby. And here we are, nice and simple, fun, fun, fun. The Wonder Ball, the first instance of the term fine dining. It's a chocolate ball with so many goodies inside. This is a crazy great deal. We get stickers, a coin, and a chocolate ball with fruity candies on the inside. This is crazy. Finally, a Luigi fan. With candy at the bottom. A Luigi fan. So many people have asked me to cover Pokemon, so I guess this is the best place to start. Pokemon Fruit Snacks. Oh, so this is what the franchise is all about. We have loads of fruity interpretations of everybody's favorite Pokemon, like Dopey, Sneezy, Bashful, the gang's all here. Overall, good first impressions of the franchise. There's also a Mario Kart variety, which isn't as Mario Kart as it is just standard Mario. But finally, we get to know what does Luigi taste like. Now let's talk some more video game promotions. Food that's packaging is just absolutely creamed out by a hot new video game release. I think one of the most notable ones would be Mountain Dew and Game Fuel, a specific flavor of Mountain Dew that releases to coincide with a new video game release. This is actually the first release of the drink, promoting Halo 3 and congestive heart failure. 3 free Pokemon cards and a box of fruit roll-ups, let's go for it! Oh man, anybody up for 52 pickup? You get a free Sea of Thieves item per Chips Ahoy pack? Well, don't mind if I do. Now one piece of gaming food I could not for the life of me track down was Gamer Grub. This stuff always looked pretty tasty. It's fundamentally just a snack mix that was advertised as the perfect gaming snack because you can just pour it down your throat. No messy hands, no messy controllers. It came in a few varieties, PB&J, s'mores, pizza, barbecue, but I believe they've stopped making it. I saw this Reese's snack mix and it kind of invoked some of what the PB&J and s'mores was. And I just kind of looked at the peanut butter nuggets on the bag and said, close enough. And then it turned out these things were basically peanut M&Ms. And who could forget the classic Sonic the Hedgehog ice cream bar? I believe these were primarily only sold via ice cream trucks, and man, was it a hard-hitting feeling of regret to buy this instead of something actually edible. I mean, it was always fine, but nothing amazing. The eyes were gumballs, exactly what I want after a munch sesh of a frozen dairy treat. Finally, Campbell's Super Mario Soup. Let's pop this bad boy open, cook it up, and try it out.
You know what? That's actually pretty good. Let me check the ingredients on this bad boy. Oh, hell yeah.
Is that a pinball machine? Oh my god, my ass is bleeding.
Hey y'all, Scott here. I need a bath.
Good timing, I haven't had one yet this year. Problem is, I only do what Space Invaders does. My diet is beyond limited.
Lucky for the bath fan inside of me, I have no excuse.
See, marketers have discovered there's no Venn diagram between bath fans and gamers. It's just a circle. It was inevitable. Mankind knew things were heading this way ever since air was invented. Xbox shampoo. Technically, you can use it on your body and face as well, so it is multi-purpose. I think a better term for it is Xbox skin jelly. I assume the audience for this is people who have never bathed before but love Xbox, and according to my research, I just can't see them existing. You know, there were a couple of other products a part of this Xbox grooming line, all exclusive to Australia. I forgot. So we've got this Space Invader soap, so we already know I'm gonna smell fucking delicious, but I can use these in the shower, not just a bath. So I'll introduce some bath exclusives. I just prefer them. With a bath, you have a moment to say hi to whoever walked in. The Mario Bath Time Golf Set. No shower instructions are included. See, this does satiate one of my primal urges.
God, I want to play fucking golf.
Not only do we get golf tools, but Mario Body Wash is included. But what if I don't give a shit about Luigi in the tub? Well, we've got the Sonic Bath Bubbles bath game. See, I was on the fence about bathing, but now.
I don't think you could pay me to leave.
This is a bathtub. I bought this one at the convention. I mainly used it to store my soap, but I never had a chance to use my soap because I never had a place to bathe. That changed today.
Man, this bathtub could be more comfortable. Could use some hay.
Let's start with the Xbox shampoo, coming to us from Lynx, after I try my Beats headphone soup. It's the Xbox staple green, which makes me happy there's no Nintendo Switch variant. Basically, it allows Xbox on your head like never before. At the end of the day, solid shampoo, no real downsides outside of hair loss. Avoid contact with eyes.
What's your stance on lips?
Well, let's clean up all this soap. So I got soap here. Space Invaders soap. Huh. I played Space Invaders.
I gotta bathe.
If skin irritation persists, consult your doctor. Oh no, I know how it works. You lure me in with skin irritation just to end up diagnosing me with cancer. Just let a bather bathe. There's lots of gaming themed soaps. I've seen game cartridge themed bars which look damn near identical to the actual products. That's good. I am most critical in the shower. The Space Invader soap is neat, but only for that brief moment before you use it. Like what, you mean you don't want to rub this on your ass? Also, the outline isn't even a part of the soap. What is this? This isn't soap, it's a shape! Okay, I need to calm down. Maybe a relaxing Bath Bubbles bath game will ease the soap rant, because I can go all goddamn day. This Sonic the Hedgehog bath game is based on Sonic Adventure and involves trying to get these rings on the pegs. I had a couple of these water-based handheld games as a kid, but from what I remember, they never lasted. They always stopped working a while in, whether that was because of water leaking or God making sure we always have something to go to war over. I don't know, but I can tell the last owner had fun with it. The entire bag has been peeled off. Well, I can't be too clean in the tub. I've waited long enough. For the first 3 years of my life, I couldn't play Bath Time Golf Set. Back then, I even tried to get the cashier to card me while buying it. I am feeling pretty underage today. But now that I'm 24, I can finally responsibly use this. Set up the putting greens, hit the ball in. It's downhill from here.
Yeah, what's your return policy? No, I got the hole-in-one. I don't need the tub anymore.
In the end, I don't really need baths. Did you know using body spray eliminates your need for showers?
Hey y'all, Scott here. Sorry, you just caught me putting all this money I've made to good use. I'm using it as a toothpick. I've gone absolutely fucking nowhere doing this. But thank God I invested in the cardboard industry as soon as I did. That thing skyrocketed in 2018 for like, no reason. But I'm not complaining. It's fun to be a part of something. For example, as a part of the cardboard industry, I have these fun little rivalries with others. Check it out.
Hello, you've reached Styrofoam Productions.
Hi, yeah, I'd like some packing peanuts. Hold the packing. I'm a fucking maniac.
Well, he sure got me.
Well, since I've made $70 from my investment, I think it's only fitting to see why exactly cardboard's the hot new thing now. Oh, it's a stupid Nintendo thing. Well, lucky for me, all I talk about is stupid Nintendo things. And it's $70! Deals as hot as this are blatantly arson! Nintendo Labo. Other than sharing its name with part of the female anatomy, it's been making rounds as one of Nintendo's most interesting and creative ventures in recent memory. Labo is a series of DIY construction kits where you're supplied perforated cardboard and other random doodads to put together with on-screen instructions to create some crazy contraptions called Toy-Con to use with the Nintendo Switch console and Joy-Con controllers. Now, the initial release of Nintendo Labo was on April 20th, haha. Two separate kits came out, being Toy-Con 1, the Variety Kit, and Toy-Con 2, the Robot Kit. Now, I personally was always more interested in the Variety Kit, I don't know about anybody else. The Variety Kit not only started at a still horrifying $69.99, $10 cheaper than the Robot Kit, but comes with 5 main Toy-Con to create, which is just more interesting to me than making one robot suit. Plus, there's more room for creativity and customization with these things, but I'll get to that in a bit. Maybe in the future I'll take a look at the Robot Kit, but for now we're keeping things strictly all Variety Kit all the time. Here we are, Nintendo Labo. Opening this box up, we're greeted to the software, and I think we all need to write a thank you letter to Nintendo for making Nintendo Labo boxes black. Fits like a glove. Actually, I'm okay with this. It seems that Nintendo wants to distance Labo from their regular Nintendo Switch games as much as possible. They'd rather this be seen as a creative toy for kids and their families rather than a hot new video game release. Picking up this layer reveals where my $70 went. Yeah, cardboard. Apparently Nintendo scrapped the idea of using animal hides and went with a more socially acceptable option. As you can see, each of these sheets of cardboard have perforated marks, perfectly allowing for easy pop-out action. We also get this bag of goodies, including some string, reflective and cushiony stickers, and a few other bits and pieces to help these things come to life. After popping the cartridge in, we have to take the training wheels off by making a Joy-Con holder. What a turnoff, I was promised real pianos made out of cardboard. Here we're introduced to the make part of Labo's Make, Play, Discover chant. All the directions on how to put together these things are displayed on screen and can be manipulated. You can zoom in, scroll around, it's incredibly useful, and I want to see more instructions like this with smartphone apps or something. I mean, it's so much harder to screw up when you can twist and turn the product in 3D. Not only this, but Nintendo went above and beyond with these models. Check out the cardboard on these bad boys. Also, the Joy-Con displayed on screen correlates with the color Joy-Con you're using, a nice touch. Alright, after putting together the freebie Toy-Con, we have free range. We get to go effing nuts here. The game suggests starting with the RC car, which only takes an estimated 10 minutes to go from cardboard to Roadhog. As you can see, the other projects take quite a bit more time, so why not? Let's whet our appetite with this thing. This is definitely the easiest Toy-Con to put together. Just a few folds and blam, we're golden. It was so simple, Nintendo felt the need to include this antenna to put on your Switch to make it seem like it's a real-life remote control. We pop this on, and our Nintendo Switch console is finally a part of a cult. The RC car uses the HD rumble in each of the Joy-Con to move around, so time for a test drive. Oh my god, I did this! I'm a fucking genius! I don't need this anymore! It's not perfect, but it works. We can open the hood and change the frequency of the rumble and have a race that ends if the car falls down. Moving on to the most complicated Toy-Con, the piano. This thing takes the longest time out of all the creations in the Variety Kit. Personally, I had to finish it in 2 sittings. A pussy. That's me. This is where we get to use the reflective tape included with the kit, as it's plopped on the piano keys so the right Joy-Con's IR camera can read it and thus tell the Switch which notes to blurt out. The piano uses the entirety of the largest sticker sheet, so hope your weekend plans didn't depend on this thing. During the build process, the piano keys were super sloppy and loose. It was really concerning me just because every promo for Labo made it seem that these keys would be wicked tight, but instead it felt like I was playing a piano with fish sticks for keys. But near the end, everything started to come together and the keys felt fine. That's
That's part of the fun of Labo, seeing things come together. It was so satisfying to put together certain things, not knowing what purpose they had, and then seeing it transform by the might of your own hands. It's really cool. And finally, the piano is done, and yeah, it's definitely a piano, alright. We can insert these knobs to change up the instruments, and we can also open up a music creation studio. Now, I am the least musically viable soul on the planet, so it's just cool to me that the cardboard's making noise. At the time of Labo's release, Nintendo has yet to put up any of their classic games on the Switch, so let it be known, the Switch can't play Donkey Kong Jr. Math, but it can play Hot Cross Buns. The fishing rod, easily one of the most satisfying to put together. I think this is just the right length and amount of work for a Toy-Con, lengthy enough to be a memorable experience, but not too long where you're about to pass out by step 3. And here we are in the fishing game. It's fishing alright. You just keep on fishing until you get 3 fish and then start all over again. Sometimes your line breaks, but there's no penalty. You can get a shark, just like you can get a college degree. The string here is completely unnecessary, it's solely here for immersion. A Joy-Con in your handle detects where you're moving the pole, and the Joy-Con here is to detect the spinning. Look at this, the line lines up with the line. Labo, you've done it again. The motorcycle is honestly one of the most fun to control. You smack the end onto your gut, start the engine, turn the handlebars, start twisting all around. By Jove, you got yourself a cardboard motorcycle. All the Joy-Con do here is detect the motion, and the buttons on the bars here actually just hit the shoulder buttons on the Joy-Con. In my opinion, I had no problems controlling this thing. I thought it felt great, especially with the HD rumble of the Joy-Con. You have a few cups to race through. They're simply just organized by beginner, intermediate, and expert, and each of them have 3 one-lap tracks to race in. I had a good time with them, but they all look the same, and I got first place on everything in my first try. One sec, gotta update my Tinder profile. I think the game is programmed to be in your favor. I mean, I randomly get a burst of speed out of nowhere, throwing me ahead of everybody. Nobody ever comes close to passing me as long as I stay on the track. Editing tracks comes in 2 flavors. We can drive anywhere we please, and our trail will become the track, or in the stadium mode, where we try to pop as many balloons as possible in the time limit, we can create our own terrain by using the IR camera. This is a bit of a sloppy way of doing things, but I can drive on my foot! And finally, the house. This one was personally my least favorite to build. It was cool to build all these other things out of cardboard. I mean, a functional fishing rod, motorcycle, piano, RC car, all made out of cardboard? Witchcraft. This is just a house. I'm sitting in one right now, yawn. It does have some cool elements to it, but not one of my favorite builds. Now, the game associated with it is probably one of the deeper experiences in the variety kit. You mess around with this tumor on legs. It's almost like a pet simulation thing, but it's more so in the, I feel like drowning him today genre. You build these knobs you can insert into the house to interact with the creature. They all feel really natural, like there's this crank, a water faucet, a switch. It feels really cool to use them and see them affect the house. If you jam in multiple at a time, you can play some mini games where you get candies to feed the thing. Like I said, it's definitely one of the deepest games in the variety kit. That's not saying much. After everything's said and built, my god, your place is not gonna be a part of the Clean Plate Club. So many little bits of cardboard you had to punch out is gonna just completely devour your workspace. But there's still one more element to that Make, Play, Discover slogan we haven't looked at yet. Going into the Discover tab, we have loads of little tutorials that educate us as to how these contraptions work and how exactly to master them. After a few of these, the Toy-Con Garage opens up. This is definitely the most interesting aspect of Labo, as it allows you to have at it with the Joy-Con and program your own Toy-Con inventions. You just say, if the Joy-Con registers this happens. You can make music play, make the Joy-Con rumble, all kinds of things, allowing for so much creativity to blossom through. Nowadays, this sort of thing isn't for me personally. I've always loved creating things, but right now, creating things within Labo isn't super appealing to me personally, but back in the day as a kid, I would have been way into this. I would have loved to learn the ins and outs of this thing to try and make the coolest invention ever. So many people online have already exploited this part of Labo to the extreme, and it's absolutely fascinating. Now, this is a major reason why I said the variety kit is inherently more interesting than the robot one. Not only do you get more interesting contraptions to make, but the Toy-Con included with the variety kit lend themselves to be a lot more customizable and have a lot more wiggle room to do wacky things with Toy-Con Garage compared to the robot. Speaking of customization, we can't forget the customization set sold separately for $10 US. Thank God, I was worried my casket was gonna look bland. And that's Nintendo Labo, at least the variety kit. A lot of time goes into the make part, probably took me about 4 hours in total to make everything, and a lot of time can go into the discover part. It's just completely optional and for the people who want to make their own Labo creations. That leaves the play section, which is so shallow. These games are done within a few minutes, and the problem is they didn't need to be. Why not include an arcade or time attack mode in the fishing game, trying to get the best fish under a time limit, or giving you a game over if your line breaks? You know, just small little mode additions like that to make the games more replayable. I basically see everything they have to offer the first time I play them after finishing building the Toy-Con. And that's my main problem with Labo. The games aren't replayable or deep enough to warrant having all this cardboard lying around that takes up a lot of space. Sure, we can throw a few things in the back of the piano, but the motorcycle, fishing rod, house, I mean, these are pretty much getting stored the way they are. I think it would have been beneficial if Nintendo developed these things to be easily collapsible after being built. Sure, that would be a lot more work and development on their part, but because of the way they are, I think in the distant future, sadly, I can see these things in the garbage, I hate to say it. They just take up too much room compared to how much entertainment they give me. Sure, I have an attachment to them because I built these things, but the games they're associated with, while cool their first time around, are just too crazy shallow. You get the extent of them after one play session. But don't take that as, oh, people will hate this thing, Nintendo Labo is dumb, stupid, and dumb. No, I actually think this thing is genius in a lot of ways. It uses the Switch console in ways I don't think anybody ever imagined. It's fun to build these things, it offers so much potential for creativity to shine through, and the games can be fun, albeit incredibly short. I'm just saying that the games are too short to warrant all this stuff taking up so much room. Overall, Nintendo Labo is incredibly cool and promising. It's not for everybody, but that's okay. It's primarily meant for those... what are they called? These things. The video game industry would be boring without Nintendo doing stuff like this. Don't lambast it just because it's not your thing. I'd really like to see Nintendo throw in more stuff in terms of the play portions of Labo, but I don't think Nintendo ever made that a big priority to make the games replayable or interesting. Labo is about the journey, not the destination. The fact that you can play a small game with something you made isn't the cool thing. It's that you made something that you can play a game with. The make and discover aspects are the star of the show here. I just really wish Nintendo put more into the play section as well. Well, that was a fun 5 hours, but I think it's a good idea to check and see how the cardboard industry is doing now, damn it. This industry fluctuates like crazy. I'm broke. I guess I'll just bribe the guy at the gas station $20 to give me the winning lottery ticket.